You can labor all day under the sun. You can sweat and strive and struggle until your fingers bleed. But riches will not flow to a man whose soul is poor. Let me tell you a secret: most will never hear. Money is not earned. It is assumed. It is received according to the tone of your inner identity, not the toil of your outer hands. A beggar with a millionaire's self-concept will soon find himself rich. But a millionaire with a beggar's self-concept, he will squander his fortune and return to rags. For you see, we do not draw to ourselves what we want. We draw what we are. You are not transformed by effort. You are transformed by assumption. Riches do not answer ambition. They answer identity. If you live in the state of being wealthy, the outer world must comply. It is law. If a man desires riches and yet continues to dwell in a state of lack, he is like a farmer who plants thorns and expects roses. He may plow the land, water the soil, and labor from sunrise to sunset, but he will reap only what he has sown inwardly. The outer hustle, no matter how passionate or persistent, is impotent unless it is the expression of an inner state already fulfilled. This is the great error of our time, to believe that work alone, or effort, or cleverness brings success. These things may appear to lead to success, but they are merely the shadows cast by a deeper cause. The deeper cause is being. You are always being something, whether you know it or not. You may be being poor, being unseen, being overlooked, being underpaid. And though you may fight it in the world of action, though you send out resumes, stay late at work, or pick up extra hours, you are still being that thing inwardly. And being is the law. What you are conscious of being, you inevitably express. Not by striving, not by pushing, but by the law of identity itself. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. If you accept yourself as wealthy, not in arrogance but in calm knowing, your world must rearrange itself to reflect that inner position. You do not need to know how, nor must you force its unfolding. You simply assume the position and dwell in it. Do not look at your current bank account, or your job title, or the opinions of others. These are the reflections of previous states. They are the fruit of thoughts long past. If you would change your world, you must change your state. And to change your state, you must change your self-conception. Your self-conception is not merely the words you say. It is the feeling you carry. You may speak affirmations from morning to night, but if they do not touch the root feeling of identity, they are but noise in the wind. The world listens not to your words, but to your belief. And belief is nothing more than sustained assumption accepted as fact. Believe you are rich, not because the world says so, but because you say so. Hold to that feeling. Dwell in it. Let it shape your reactions, your expectations, your decisions. Soon the world will catch up. Do not underestimate the power of assumption. All of life dances to the rhythm of your state. People meet you where you are, not where you wish to be. Circumstances appear in harmony with your tone, not your toil. If your inner tone is one of lack, you will find no amount of hustle can overcome it. You may get a promotion and still feel broke. You may make more money and still find it slipping through your fingers. But if you change your tone to one of sufficiency, of ease, of already having, then even with less work, less action, less noise, you will find more comes to you. This is why the wise do not chase, they assume. They do not beg reality to change. They shift within, knowing that reality must follow. The one who is rich in spirit carries a vibration that commands substance to gather. He may speak little, but his world listens. He may act slowly, but his footsteps are golden. He does not fear the economy, nor seek favor from men. He knows his source is within. Let others boast of their hustle. Let them show their calendars, their sleepless nights, their endless meetings. You, however, be still. Dwell in the inner mansion. Let your riches be born from identity, not activity. Then your work will not be struggle, but expression. Then your actions will not be frantic, but inspired, and your outer world will be nothing but the echo of your inner song. For your state of consciousness is not a side effect. It is the cause, the core, the only reality from which all others spring. Change it, and you change everything. All things follow the pattern set by your inner conversations. Money is no exception. It does not arrive because you do more. It arrives because you are more. Not in the eyes of others, not on paper, but in the secret world of your consciousness. You will never hold in your hand what you have not first held in your imagination. Every penny you receive is a shadow cast by your state of being. The world only reflects your internal arrangement of self. You may study business, master sales, invest with precision, and still struggle financially if you carry within you the identity of someone who must fight for every dime. On the surface, you may act the part, dress for success, recite affirmations, mimic confidence. But beneath it all, if you still feel unworthy, anxious, or doubtful, you will repel the very thing you seek. Life has no choice but to reflect your concept of self. The man who sees himself as poor in spirit will manifest poverty in form, regardless of his effort. Conversely, the man who sees himself as wealthy in consciousness, quietly, calmly, without a trace of ego, will summon the symbols of that wealth with ease, not because he has earned it, but because he has become it. You do not receive according to merit. You receive according to identity. That is the law. Identity is the root from which all action grows. If you try to act wealthy without being wealthy in your conception of self, you only wear a mask. It may fool others for a while, but it will not fool life. Life listens to your internal tone, not your outer performance. If inwardly you still see yourself as scraping, reaching, begging, then every dollar you attract will feel borrowed, every gain temporary, every opportunity fragile. You may achieve moments of abundance, but without a corresponding identity to sustain them, they dissolve. Money does not come to the man who needs it. It comes to the man who already has it within. This is why the rich become richer, not because they hustle more, but because they carry the frequency of already having. It is their normal, their baseline, their expectation. They do not question whether the next opportunity will appear, they assume it. They do not wait for permission to feel abundant. They feel it now, and the world agrees with their assumption. To change your experience with money, you must change your relationship with self. Not your bank balance, not your job title, not your possessions. These are results, not causes. The cause is your unseen self. What do you believe you are entitled to? What do you believe is natural for you? What do you accept without resistance? These are the questions that determine your financial destiny. You may not realize it, but every moment you declare, I can't afford that, or money is hard to come by, or I'm not there yet, you reinforce an identity that money cannot flow to. These statements are not facts, they are decisions, and what you decide in consciousness becomes your law. Shift, then, not by efforting harder, but by being differently. If you were already rich, what would you feel like waking up tomorrow morning? How would you carry yourself as you walk down the street? What internal dialogue would play behind your eyes as you sat alone in silence? Enter that state, not as fantasy, not as pretense, but as reality. For what you accept in imagination becomes real. Money is not the goal, identity is. When the self is reordered, the world reshapes itself effortlessly. Many people chase tactics, strategies, formulas. They hope the right system will finally bring wealth. But no tactic can override identity. Action must arise from being. When you change the I am, the how takes care of itself. The man who says, I am wealthy, and means it, sees doors open that were previously invisible. He finds money where others find excuses. He receives calls that others never expect. Life bends to meet him because he is living in harmony with the state that money recognizes. So ask not, what should I do to get money? Ask instead, who must I be that money becomes an extension of my presence, and become that version of you in thought, in tone, in imagination. The world cannot resist a man who walks as the embodiment of abundance. Not because he demands it, but because he assumes it. Not because he deserves it more than another, but because he dares to accept it first inwardly. All wealth is first spiritual. All fortune is first psychological. Embody the vibration of wealth within, and the evidence must follow. It is not magic, it is law. The only transformation that ever takes place is the transformation of consciousness. All outer changes are the result of a shift within. Nothing changes by wishing it to. It changes when you assume that it already has. To try to become is to admit that you are not. And what you are conscious of not being, you cannot express. The world is not moved by your desire to be something. It is moved by your acceptance that you already are. You do not try to become wealthy. You assume that you are wealthy. You do not strive to become healthy. You live as though perfect health is your natural condition. To try is to remain outside the state. To assume is to enter it. And once a state is entered, the world around you must bend to it. For everything in your reality is only the reflection of the state you occupy. Most people live in the illusion of becoming. They are always reaching, stretching, working toward a version of themselves that forever remains just out of grasp. They are caught in a cycle of effort and delay, because every effort to become something new affirms the truth that they are not yet it. And so they reinforce the very lack they wish to escape. You must instead adopt the boldness to assume that which your senses deny. If you look at your present circumstances and declare, "This is not who I am," then you must refuse to give them your belief. Your reality does not change by reacting to what is. It changes when you plant your awareness firmly in what you claim is already true, regardless of the evidence. This is not denial. It is creation. You are not running from facts. You are choosing the seed that will become your future harvest. The moment you assume the state of already having, everything begins to shift. Your thoughts change. Your posture changes. Your choices change. And these shifts, though subtle, ripple outward into conditions, relationships, and events. The assumption becomes a magnetic field, drawing all things like unto itself. But it must be genuine. It must be felt. An empty affirmation spoken with doubt has no power. But a quiet assumption held with conviction transforms worlds. You must sit in silence and claim the thing you desire as though it were already yours. Do not say, "I will have it." Say, "I have it." Let it saturate your mind. Let it fill your emotional body. Let your imagination construct the scenes that would naturally unfold if your desire were now real. And do not wait for permission. The world cannot give it. You give it to yourself. There is no waiting in the spiritual realm. All states exist now. There is no future in consciousness, only now. And if all states exist now, then the only question is, which one will you occupy? You do not earn a state. You inhabit it. You do not qualify for it. You accept it. The one who assumes possession lives differently than the one who longs for it. He walks differently. He speaks from a place of completion, not need. He thinks not of acquiring, but of enjoying. This shift in attitude is the key to manifestation. Everything you truly possess, you first accepted within. The car, the house, the relationship, the opportunity. Before it ever showed up, you entertained it in consciousness. You felt what it would be like. You played with it in imagination. You rehearsed the joy. And when you assumed it fully, the world moved to match your inner claim. You may not have recognized this process, but it is how all things come to be. This is why trying does not work. It implies separation. It declares to the universe, "I am not." But assumption declares, "I am already." And this declaration, if sustained, becomes the mold into which your life must be poured. You must stop looking for signs and become the sign. Stop chasing change and be the change. The feeling of already having must be so natural to you that it becomes your new normal. And when it does, reality has no choice but to comply. Never look to the world to verify what you know inwardly. That is like digging up a seed to check if it is growing. Your only task is to remain faithful to the state you have assumed. Keep watering it with thought, feeding it with feeling, protecting it from doubt. Know that your assumption is a living force. It is not waiting for conditions to be right. It is the cause of the conditions. So assume now, assume boldly, assume quietly, but above all, assume persistently. For in the silence of your imagination, the world is made. And when you stop trying to become and begin to live as though you already are, everything around you must rearrange itself to reflect the truth you have accepted. That is the law. The world listens to your inner speech more attentively than your outer words. It is not the conversations you have with others that shape your life, but those whispered monologues you carry silently behind your eyes. These inner conversations are not idle. They are seeds planted in the garden of the mind, and from them spring every event, every encounter, every condition you call real. Nothing enters your experience that was not first spoken in secret. A man may appear silent in the world and yet be filled with noise within. Dialogues of doubt, arguments of lack, repetitions of worry. And he wonders why life reflects back to him hardship, limitation, and delay. He does not yet realize that his true voice is not the one he uses at dinner or in business meetings. His true voice is the tone of his imagination. That quiet inner speech is his prayer, and it is always answered. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but always faithfully. If you wish to magnetize riches, you must speak riches inwardly. You must see yourself in imagination as one whose life is touched by ease, supported by abundance, and filled with security. And not once, but constantly. Repetition is the path to belief, and belief is the bridge to manifestation. You cannot imagine wealth once and expect the world to bow to it. You must return again and again to the feeling of already having. In those private moments, before sleep, while walking, while sitting alone, use the voice within to declare who you are. Not, I hope to be rich, nor one day I'll have enough, but I am wealthy now. I am supported now. I am a magnet for all that is good. Let your inner speech agree with this state. Imagine what others would say to you if it were true. Imagine what you would say to yourself. Hear it clearly, feel it fully, until it becomes so real that the world outside begins to echo it without your effort. The one who walks the earth with a rich self-concept is not necessarily the loudest, nor the most visible. Often, he is the one who has learned to master the quiet realm. His inner world is not filled with complaints or criticisms. He does not rehearse arguments or project fear. Instead, he speaks inwardly of his success, of his favor, of his infinite supply. And these words, though never spoken aloud, shape the world like wind shapes stone. Most people think they must work harder, act faster, or chase louder to acquire wealth. But the one who understands the creative nature of consciousness knows otherwise. He knows that riches are drawn not by effort, but by vibration. And vibration is born from self-conception. If you see yourself as small, undeserving, or invisible, no matter how much you earn or achieve, you will find ways to lose it. For you will always return to the temperature set by your internal thermostat, the tone of your inner speech. Transform your inner dialogue, and you transform your financial destiny. Speak kindly to yourself. Speak with certainty. Dwell in conversations that reflect the man or woman you wish to be, as if that version already lives and breathes. Talk to yourself as though your dreams are facts, as though your prayers have already been answered. Feel the shift this creates in your body. There will be a lightness, a power, a stillness. That is the sign you have touched truth. Inward conversations determine outward agreements. You may enter a room where no one knows your name, but if your self-concept is rich, you will be received with favor. Opportunities will open, doors will unlock, ideas will arrive. Not because you asked loudly, but because you carried the quiet confidence of someone who knows what belongs to him. Life listens to certainty, and certainty is born from sustained assumption. You may think you are thinking thoughts, but more often, thoughts are thinking you. They are habits of awareness, and unless interrupted, they will replay the past again and again. So you must take the reins. Begin gently, but firmly, to revise your inner conversations. Do not scold yourself for wandering. Return again and again to the rich self, the abundant self, the favored self. Let this be your home. From this place, speak to yourself. Speak before sleep. Speak when you rise. Speak not to the world, but to your imagination. Say the things you would say if the money were already in your hands, if the debt were paid, if the freedom were yours. Feel the ease of it. Let the conversation become normal. Let it become familiar. And then watch as the world begins to match your tone. You do not need to force results. You need only sustain the new inner atmosphere. Life rushes to fill it. The law is impersonal. It does not favor the hardworking over the still. It favors the consistent speaker of truth. And the truth is always what you dare to assume, even when appearances suggest otherwise. So speak inwardly from wealth. Speak from already having. Let your inner voice become the architect of your fortune, and all things will fall into place. There are two approaches man takes toward life. One is rooted in force, the other in faith. One demands physical strain, relentless action, constant adjustment. The other invites inner certainty, stillness, and assumption. One is the way of the world. The other is the way of the creative mind. The former is effort, the latter is assumption. And while effort may build, only assumption creates. Effort relies on conditions. Assumption alters them. It is not through the sweat of your brow that you manifest your destiny, but through the tone of your consciousness. The belief that struggle is required for success is one of the greatest illusions imposed on man. He is told to hustle harder, push faster, stay up later, and sacrifice his peace for gain. And yet, even with all this noise, he often finds himself further from his desire than when he began. Why? Because the law of effort deals only with shadows, while the law of assumption touches the root. You are not what you do. You are what you believe, and your world reflects not your labor, but your identity. You can toil endlessly without changing a thing, for outer doing without inner being is like rowing upstream with no current beneath you. It exhausts you but takes you nowhere. But the moment you assume a new state of consciousness, quietly, fully, faithfully, your world shifts, not because you forced it, but because you became it. This is not to say that you will not act, but that your actions will arise from your assumption, not lead to it. They will flow from inspiration, not desperation. The man who assumes wealth does not chase money, he acts from the state of wealth. The man who assumes love does not search frantically for approval. He walks in the dignity of already being loved. The law of assumption is not laziness. It is alignment. You must understand that your outer world is a delayed mirror. It reflects not your effort, but your expectation. And expectation is the child of assumption. If you assume you are always supported, then life will support you, even when you do little. If you assume life is hard, it will be hard, no matter how much you do. You are always using this law, whether you realize it or not. The question is not whether you believe in it, but what you are assuming right now. Look around you. Every object, every situation, every condition in your world is clothed in the fabric of your inner beliefs. You may have worked for years to change your life outwardly, and yet the scenery remains the same. That is because effort without assumption is motion without creation. You must first be in imagination what you wish to see in the flesh. The image must come before the result, just as the seed precedes the fruit. The man who understands this law no longer reacts to appearances. He does not concern himself with the how or the when. He knows those are governed by the state he occupies. He no longer asks, "What must I do to make this happen?" but instead asks, "What must I believe about myself so that this is already true?" That shift in question changes everything. Your assumptions, when sustained, become your world, not because you forced them into existence, but because you remained faithful to them, regardless of outer facts. Faith is loyalty to the unseen, and effort can never substitute for it. You can build an empire through sheer effort, but if your self-concept remains small, that empire will collapse. But assume abundance, and even the smallest gesture becomes potent. You are not made powerful by how much you do, but by the consciousness from which you act. When you live by the law of assumption, you do not strive to reach your goal, you rest in it. You carry its tone in your voice, its certainty in your step. You do not explain it to others or seek validation. You dwell in it silently, as though it were already the most natural thing in the world. And because life mirrors belief, it becomes exactly that. So ask yourself, are you trying to earn your desire through effort? Or are you claiming it through assumption? Are you exhausting yourself to become something? Or have you accepted that you already are? Your answer reveals your state, and your state determines your fate. Assume it now, not later, not once the evidence shows up, but now. Assume it in the face of contradiction. Assume it in stillness. Assume it in imagination, and let the law work for you. For what you assume with conviction, you must eventually express. And the world, though blind to your inner life, is a faithful servant to its authority. It will bend, not to your struggle, but to your assumption. You have nothing to earn, only something to awaken. Riches are not rewards for your struggle, they are reflections of your assumption. The outer world is not your master, it is your mirror. Every dollar you hold, every opportunity that finds you, every blessing that rests upon your life, it all begins within. The identity you accept in silence becomes the future you walk in. Stop chasing shadows. Stop exhausting yourself for conditions that will only dissolve if not rooted in a transformed self. Withdraw from the world for a moment, and in the quiet chambers of imagination, plant the seed of who you choose to be. Do not wish. Do not try. Assume. Let your inner voice speak from fullness, not lack. Let your thoughts reflect the man who already has, not the one who hopes to one day become. Sustain this inner identity. Let it become familiar. Let it become your emotional home. Do not concern yourself with the how or the when. Those are not yours to manage. The law of assumption will draw all things to you in their appointed time. Your only task is to remain faithful to your vision, not with effort, but with certainty. And as you do, you will find the world shifting, not because you pushed it, but because you dared to be different. That is the secret. That is the power. That is the truth. Riches will follow the one who walks not by sight, but by inner knowing. So walk now, not as the seeker, but as the one who has already found, and let life do what it must. Reflect the greatness you have already claimed in consciousness.